Hi guys, today I've got something a bit special for you. About a month ago now, I saw a photo and a video by Chezlin, who's an amazing artist here on YouTube and Instagram who makes some really great DIYs. She basically took some old cardboard boxes and transformed them into this amazing cat house, and I thought, well, my cat Rory is not spoilt enough with his giant cat tree that takes up half the living room and an endless amount of toys that he has. I've got to make one of these too. And to be honest, I wasn't particularly planning on making a video at first, as you probably can tell from some of the footage that I ended up taking, and the fact really that Chezlin made a great video in the first place, which I am going to go link down in the description too. However, I didn't have a complete box that would fit both my cat and a cat bed at the same time, as much as my cat probably would try. But luckily, with it being the Christmas holidays when I made this, I had a lot of medium and small size boxes that I'd be able to repurpose and take apart, and that's kind of how this DIY came to be. So if you're in a similar situation and you can't find a large enough box for Chezlin's DIY, maybe by this messing about that I'm doing today, this might show you another solution to doing this DIY. So the first thing that I had to do was construct a new box from some smaller boxes that I had that would fit the cat bed. I took one of the smaller boxes where the base fit the bed perfectly, and I pulled up the top flaps of that box so that I could glue and tape those together to create a tall box with an open top. At this point, you could probably make your life simpler and a lot easier by just making a cardboard top for this box. And to do that, I just skipped to the stage where I'm making a roof in this video. But as you can tell, I don't do easy. And a lot of that is because I wanted to make a second floor to this box house that could kind of act like a lid. That way I'd be able to more easily take out the bed to clean it if I needed to, and to get Rory's hidden little toys without destroying the entire house. Now you'll see in some shots I made a front garden to this house at first, but I ended up getting rid of that as Rory really wasn't going through the entrance with it there, and to be honest it was more trouble than it was worth. So I'd probably recommend not putting anything near the front entrance of your house if you want your cat to use it once you're done. Now my box now was missing a front wall because of that choice, so if you're smart, keep the front flap for this next stage, but if you're winging it like I was, take another sheet of cardboard from a large box and place it in front of the box that you've made so you can measure it down to size. Before you glue that sheet into place, mark onto it where and how big you want the front door and any windows to be, and cut those out with a knife. It's going to be a lot easier to do this when it's flat rather than when it's stuck into place, so try and plan ahead as you can. Maybe test the door hole out too if you're worried your cat won't use it. Maybe find other holes that they dart through around your house to measure, or if your cat's willing, cut it out beforehand and just see if they'll jump through it. Rory was pretty helpful in that way, and I think it ended up being around 18 centimeters squared for my cat, but he's kind of a big cat. Once the cardboard was cut down to size and had its window and door holes, I secured it into place with some package tape, as I did with the other sides of the box, and now you've got the base frame of the house, and it should feel pretty solid, but still be open at the top. To create the top part of the house, I took another box that I had and opened it up flat. On the short sides of that box, I cut them down into triangles, and these are going to act as the two gable ends of your house. And the two longer sides of the box are going to be the front and the back of your house. Again, like I showed with the front wall of the house that I made earlier, mark out any window holes that you'd like to incorporate into your house's design and cut those out before you stick all the sides together. That should make it a bit easier to make the top story frame of this cat house. I was lucky in that the box I opened up to use as my top frame of the house fit quite easily and snugly on top of the bottom part already, so I didn't really need to cut it down to size too much. So I would just keep in mind when you're making your second story part, make sure to measure how long the bottom walls are beforehand and try and match them to the second story so that they can slot together easily at the end. When I measured the top frame walls, I slightly reduced the length of the size by maybe a little bit less than a centimetre, just so that it would more snugly fit on top of the box and not slide around. I also put a strip of cardboard along the side walls and the back of the bottom frame of the house, so that the top structure would kind of sit on top of that, and again, just try and keep it from sliding out of place. I feel like I've said top and bottom there like a million times, but basically so long as you take your time testing the top frame out against the bottom that you've made before you fully cut something out or glue it all together, you'll slowly reach a point where they hopefully fit very snugly together. I kind of decided I wanted to go for the gold for some reason with this DIY and decided to make some dormer windows to break up the roof line of this house. I kind of felt like the scale of the building was a little bit off, and I thought it would look odd if the windows were very small on the second story. Plus, it kind of made it more visually interesting anyway, so if you're not into it, just ignore this if you're not looking to incorporate it into your cat house's design. But if you are, and you want to know how it works, basically what you have to do is cut a piece of cardboard out, or get it from some of the scraps that you've made during this DIY, because you'll have loads, and measure this piece against the window hole that you've made on the top story. What we're going to do is make an outline of these holes, which we're then going to cut out and make them look like window frames. This also has this added benefit of making these holes in the cardboard a bit stronger if your cat likes to destroy everything at any opportunity they have. Now for the roof, I took a piece of folded cardboard that I had, which was basically two sides of a box that hadn't been cut, and placed them over the two gable ends that we cut out from the top story. You might have to end up cutting them down a little bit just so they rest nicely on top. And finally, once all of those parts are done, to create the dormers, I took the frame from those windows that I made and I rested them against the roof where the windows lined up with them. And from there, I was able to outline the frame onto the roof, and I could use that as a guideline to cut them out. Now, because I made a shallow point to my windows, in turn the pitch of the dormer roof sections are pretty shallow too. So if you wanted more pointy dormers, just make sure that the triangles you cut out from the roof are a lot less shallow than you're seeing here. Once the dormer sections of the roof are cut out, place it on top of the top box frame that you've made and secure it into place with some glue and tape. Now once your roof is fully stuck down, stick the window frames that you made around those top window holes and wait for them to dry too. So now when everything's stuck securely into place, take another piece of folded cardboard, kind of like the roof piece that you had earlier but a lot smaller, and cut one side of it in a straight line and then the other into a pointed triangle. You really want to make sure that triangle is shallow, almost flat at that first stage, and then just try and make it slowly more pointed as you go. You're looking for it to fit into that groove of the roof line, whilst at the same time sitting comfortably on top of the window frame as well. It's really just trial and error, so slowly cut, and when it finally fits, glue it into place. Or maybe before gluing it into place, go and cut out a second one so that your life's easier with the second one that you made. So to finish off this top half of your house, make a few more window frames for the other windows on the sides of the house and add a roof lintel to the gable sides. These are going to strengthen the bond between the roof and walls a little bit, whilst they're going to hide any tape or holes that might still be visible. Now if you're dying and you hate how long this DIY is taking, I jump now to the painting stage from here. But if you really love cutting out cardboard for some reason, like me, you can cut some little rectangles out of the scrap cardboard pile you've made during this DIY and cut them into rough shingle shapes. Round or pointy edged, it's all up to you. I found it pretty relaxing cutting them down to size and gluing them in overlapping patterns, even if it did take a while to do. Plus it adds a lot more texture to the house, which I think is nice. And finally, add any last little cardboard details that you want to add before painting. Like I added some little stone shapes to the bottom to maybe add a bit more texture. Now honestly, I think it looks pretty cool just as a cardboard box, but I did decide to paint it because I do have big plans and a lot of time on my hands. The look I was really going for this cat house was a southwest English cottage. And the reason being that when we adopted Rory from Cats Protection, we were down living in Somerset at the time, and I really liked the idea of it being like the homes of his probably farm cat ancestors. So I decided to paint it a mix of white render on the bottom and grey stone, and I made sure that the paint was just on the outside of the box, and I made sure to air it out for a while before letting Rory wipe his tail and face all over it, as he's known to do. I added some little details as I went too, like the little flower motifs around the door, just because I was getting really into the process, and I think this is kind of where you can go really enjoy yourself creatively with what you've made and make it really unique and special too. I left the roof mostly as is just because I really liked the brown and seeing the natural cardboard somewhere on the box still. And yeah, that was it, it was done. As you can see, I'm struggling to show you how the box fitted together with Rory rolling about all over the floor. I think he's mostly happy just to be able to get in the room as it's been off limits through the day when I was making this. I really wanted to get a shot of him inside it too, but every time I found him in there, it's been late at night and it's been really dark and I just don't want to turn on a light or flash him with a camera when he's sleeping, so I'm really sorry, but these are the best shots that I do have of him. He does seem to really enjoy it though, so if you've got a cat that loves cardboard boxes and you think this looks like a lot of fun to make, I'd really recommend giving it a go, and if you do, I'd love to see what you decided to create and how it turned out. This honestly felt like the hard mode of this DIY, so I would recommend watching chezlin's video if you are wanting to give this DIY a go to get a much better perspective on it. I really hope you enjoyed this video though, and go on to make some ridiculous cat mansions for your spoiled cats too. I'll chat to you soon.